I arrived at my parents' house for Christmas dinner carrying a simple fruit basket, the kind you pick up at the grocery store for $20. My sister Rebecca pulled up in her leased BMW at the same time, her trunk filled with elaborately wrapped presents that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. "Oh, Emma," she said, eyeing my modest contribution. "Still keeping it simple, I see." I smiled and didn't respond. Rebecca had always been the golden child. Married to a corporate lawyer, living in a house with a 3-car garage, president of her neighborhood HOA. I was the family's question mark, the one who never quite figured it out, according to my mother's friends. Inside, the house smelled like roasted turkey and my aunt's famous sweet potato casserole. My extended family had already gathered: aunts, uncles, cousins, my brother Marcus and his wife Jennifer. The conversation stopped when I walked in. "Emma, so glad you could make it," my mother said, her tone suggesting she was mildly surprised I'd shown up. "We weren't sure if you'd be too busy with your projects." "Wouldn't miss it, Mom," I said, setting the fruit basket on the counter next to Rebecca's tower of gifts. My Uncle Richard was already 3 drinks in. "So, Emma is still doing that internet thing? What do you call it again?" "E-commerce," I said quietly. Right. Selling stuff online. My neighbor does that too. Makes a few $100 a month with those crafts." He chuckled. "Good hobby." I took a seat on the couch and accepted the glass of wine my cousin offered. The television was on in the background, playing the local news. Everyone had moved on to discussing Rebecca's latest achievement. She'd been featured in a local magazine as one of the 40 under 40 business professionals. "The photographer took 3 hours to get the perfect shot," Rebecca was saying, showing everyone her phone. "They wanted it just right for the cover." "We're so proud," my father said, beaming. "A cover feature. That's real success." My Aunt Linda turned to me. "And Emma, dear, are you still living in that little apartment downtown?" "I am," I said. "Well, that's fine. Not everyone needs a big house. Very practical for someone with a small income." She patted my hand sympathetically. Dinner was served at 6. We gathered around the extended table my parents only brought out for major holidays. I was seated at the far end between my teenage cousin who spent the entire meal on his phone and Uncle Richard, who had moved on to bourbon. "Thanksgiving turkey, Emma?" my mother asked, her voice carrying down the table. "Or are you doing one of those trendy diets? I know income can be tight when you're self-employed." "Turkey is perfect, Mom." Rebecca, seated in the place of honor next to our father, was holding court about her upcoming vacation to the Maldives. "The resort is exclusive," she explained. "You have to be recommended by an existing member to even book a room." "That's the kind of success we love to see," my father said. "Working hard, climbing the corporate ladder, investing wisely." My brother Marcus chimed in. "Remember when Emma wanted to drop out of her marketing job to pursue entrepreneurship?" He made air quotes. "We all tried to talk sense into her." "I was so worried," my mother said, shaking her head. "A stable job with benefits and she just walked away." "How long has it been now, Emma?" Rebecca asked, her voice dripping with concern. 5 years of this online shop experiment?" 6, I said, cutting into my turkey. 6 years. "Oh honey, don't you think it's time to consider going back to a real career? I could ask Douglas if his firm has any administrative positions opening up." Douglas was Rebecca's husband who had joined us late after an important conference call. He nodded patronizingly. "Happy to help, family. We all have to be realistic about our limitations." I took a sip of water and said nothing. The meal continued with various family members sharing their accomplishments. Marcus had gotten another promotion. Jennifer had been elected to the school board. My cousin had made the dean's list. Every few minutes, someone would glance at me with what they probably thought was kindness, but looked a lot like pity. "It's important to know when to quit," Uncle Richard said loudly, pointing his fork at me. "Chasing dreams is fine when you're young, but at some point you need to accept reality. Get a steady paycheck. Build a retirement fund. Be responsible." "Emma has always been a dreamer," my Aunt Linda added. "Remember when she was little? Always making up stories, living in fantasy worlds. Some people never grow out of that." After dinner, we moved to the living room for dessert and coffee. The television was still on, now showing the evening news. My mother had made her famous apple pie, And Rebecca was describing her new kitchen renovation that cost more than most people's annual salary. Marble countertops from Italy, she was saying. The installer said they were the finest he'd ever worked with. Of course, you have to invest in quality when you have the means. I accepted a small slice of pie and sat in the corner armchair, the one that was slightly worn and faced away from most of the family circle. Emma, sweetie, my mother said, have you thought about taking some business classes? Maybe learn some real skills? I worry about you living paycheck to paycheck at your age. I'm doing fine, Mom. Fine isn't good enough, my father interjected. You're 34 years old. You should be established by now. Look at your sister. House, car, investments, respect in the community. That's what success looks like. Rebecca smiled modestly. I've worked very hard. Made smart choices. Followed a proven path. Exactly, Douglas said. The proven path. Not these get-rich-quick internet schemes. My cousin's wife, Amanda, spoke up. I read an article about online businesses. Most of them fail within the first year. The ones that survive barely make minimum wage when you calculate the hours worked. That's what I've been saying, my mother said, her voice rising with frustration. Emma, you're wasting your prime earning years. Think about your future. You have no retirement savings, no property, no security. Uncle Richard raised his glass. Here's what I think, and Emma, I say this with love. You need to stop playing entrepreneur and get serious about life. This isn't a game. Several family members murmured in agreement. I set down my pie plate, barely touched. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in with their concern and judgment and absolute certainty that they understood my life better than I did. Playing entrepreneur with your little online shop, Rebecca said, laughing. I'm sorry, but that's exactly what it is. Playing pretend. We're all too polite to say it directly, but someone needs to. For your own good. The room fell silent for a moment. Then my Aunt Linda spoke gently. We love you, Emma. That's why this is so hard to watch. You're too old to be playing these games. Games, my father repeated. That's the perfect word for it. While everyone else is building real careers, real wealth, real legacies, you're playing. My mother's eyes were actually glistening with tears. I lie awake at night worrying about you. What happens when you're 50, 60? Still in that little apartment, still pretending to run a business, with nothing to show for your life. Marcus leaned forward. Look, sis, we're staging an intervention here because we care. You need to hear the truth. This fantasy you're living? It's not sustainable. It's not real. You need to wake up and join the adult world. I took a slow breath and reached for my coffee. My hand was steady. I mean, what do you even sell? Jennifer asked. I've never even seen your website. Because there probably isn't one, Douglas said with a condescending chuckle. Or if there is, it's one of those sad little Etsy shops with 3 items and no sales. The television had moved from news to the evening programming schedule. A commercial was playing, something about holiday shopping deals. Rebecca stood up to cut herself another slice of pie. Emma, I'm going to be very direct because I'm your sister and I love you. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing this family. Every time someone asks what you do, we have to make excuses. Oh, Emma's trying to start a business. Emma's exploring entrepreneurship. It's humiliating. Humiliating, my mother echoed. When Patricia asked me at book club what my daughters were doing, I could brag about Rebecca's magazine cover and her beautiful home. But you, I had to say you were working on some online projects. I could see the pity in her eyes. My father set down his coffee cup with more force than necessary. This stops now, Emma. New Year's resolution, you're going to get a real job. I don't care if it's entry level. At least it'll be legitimate. I could probably get you an interview at my company, Marcus offered. They're always looking for people in customer service. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. Real work. The commercial ended. The television screen showed the beginning of a new program. The local news magazine show that ran special features on Saturday evenings. Tonight on News Center Special, the announcer's voice rang out. An exclusive look at one of the most extraordinary business success stories of the decade. How a young entrepreneur turned a simple idea into a global empire worth billions. No one was really listening. Rebecca was describing her upcoming performance review where she expected another raise. Uncle Richard was refilling his bourbon. My mother was collecting dessert plates. Our feature tonight, the television continued, focuses on Emma Chin, the elusive founder and CEO of Lux Global Holdings, whose revolutionary approach to sustainable luxury goods has disrupted the entire retail industry. My mother dropped a dessert plate. It didn't break, but it clattered loudly on the coffee table. The screen filled with an aerial shot of a massive corporate campus, all glass and steel and manicured gardens. The caption read, Lux Global Holdings Headquarters, Shanghai. What? My father started. That's Emma's name, my cousin said slowly. Rebecca's face had gone pale. That has to be a different Emma Chin. Common name. But the screen had changed to show a photograph. Me in a tailored business suit, shaking hands with the president of France at an economic summit. The caption confirmed it. Emma Chin, 34, founder and CEO Lux Global Holdings. The reporter's voice filled the silent room. Emma Chen's story is one of vision, secrecy, and extraordinary execution. 6 years ago, she quietly left her corporate marketing position to pursue what her family thought was a small online retail experiment. What they didn't know was that Emma had spent the previous 3 years developing proprietary sustainable manufacturing technology and building relationships with eco-conscious suppliers across 18 countries. The screen showed factory floors, vast and modern, with workers assembling luxury handbags, shoes, accessories. Within 18 months, the reporter continued, her company had secured contracts with major department stores across Asia. Within 3 years she had expanded to Europe and North America. Her revolutionary approach, combining luxury craftsmanship with sustainable materials and ethical labor practices, resonated with millennial and Gen Z consumers who demanded both quality and conscience. My uncle's bourbon glass was frozen halfway to his mouth. The program showed footage of Lux Global products in high-end stores in Paris, London, Tokyo, New York. The items were beautiful. Handbags that cost thousands, shoes that celebrities wore on red carpets, accessories that had waiting lists months long. Today, the reporter said, Lux Global Holdings operates manufacturing facilities on 4 continents, employs over 40,000 people, and generates annual revenue exceeding $7 billion. The company's recent valuation places Emma Chen's personal net worth at approximately $7.2 billion, making her one of the youngest self-made female billionaires in the world. My mother made a sound like she'd been punched. The screen showed me again, this time at a TED conference speaking to thousands. Then at a UN Sustainability Summit. Then on the cover of Forbes Asia with the headline, The Quiet Billionaire, How Emma Chin Built an Empire in Secret. Chin is famously private, the reporter explained. She rarely gives interviews, avoids social media, and has never publicly disclosed her wealth to friends or family. Those closest to her had no idea of the magnitude of her success. Rebecca's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. Tonight's special will take you inside Emma Chen's empire, the announcer said. We'll tour her facilities, speak with her executive team, and explore how she managed to build a multi-billion-dollar global company while maintaining almost complete anonymity in her personal life. That's tonight at 9, right here on News Center Special. The program cut to commercial. The silence in the room was absolute. Then everyone started talking at once. That can't be real. The same Emma Chin. $7 billion. This is our Emma. My father stood up, his face red. Emma. Is this true? Is this real? I set down my coffee cup carefully. Yes. You own. My mother couldn't finish the sentence. Lux Global Holdings, I said quietly. Yes. Marcus had his phone out, frantically Googling. Oh my God. It's all true. Emma, you're on the Forbes billionaire list. Number 847 globally. Your worth. It says here $7.2 billion. Rebecca had gone from pale to bright red. You sat here and let us. Mock me? I said gently. Yes. Douglas was scrolling through his phone, his hands shaking. Lux Global just announced a new sustainable fashion initiative with the European Union. Grant funding of €200 million. Emma, you met with the EU Commissioner last month. I did, I confirmed. My Aunt Linda was crying. Actual tears. We thought you were poor. We thought you were failing. I know. Uncle Richard drained his bourbon in one gulp. That apartment you live in. Why would you live in a regular apartment if you're worth billions? I like the apartment, I said. It's comfortable. Close to my favorite coffee shop. My mother sat down heavily. The fruit basket. You brought a $20 fruit basket when you're worth $7 billion. I like fruit baskets, I said. The television commercial ended and the news anchor returned. Just a reminder. Our exclusive special on billionaire entrepreneur Emma Chin airs tonight at 9. We'll have unprecedented access to her corporate empire, including interviews with her executive team and a rare sit-down with Chin herself. Stay tuned. My father's voice was barely a whisper. You gave us an interview. You gave the news an interview, but you never told your own family. They asked questions about business, I said. You asked questions about why I was wasting my life. Rebecca stood up abruptly, knocking over her wine glass. Red wine spread across my mother's white tablecloth like blood. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. You're telling me that for 6 years, while we all pitied you, while we tried to help you, while we worried about you, you were secretly a billionaire. Yes. That's sick. Rebecca's voice cracked. That's genuinely sick, Emma. What kind of person does that? The kind who wanted to see who really cared about her versus who cared about her success, I said calmly. Marcus was still scrolling. You donated $500 million to environmental causes last year. You endowed scholarships at 15 universities. You're building hospitals in developing countries. Emma, you're a philanthropist. A major global philanthropist. That money should be helping your family. Uncle Richard burst out. Your own flesh and blood. I looked at him steadily. Why? So you could buy more bourbon? So Rebecca could renovate her kitchen with even more expensive marble. How dare you? Rebecca hissed. My mother was scrolling on her phone now too, her face growing paler with each swipe. You spoke at the World Economic Forum in Davos. You had dinner with heads of state. You own properties in 12 countries. Emma, you own an island. 2 islands, I corrected. The second one is smaller. I use it for marine conservation research. My father sank back into his chair. All those times we tried to help you. Offered you jobs. Offered you money. I remember, I said. Jennifer spoke up, her voice shaky. Last year. Last Christmas. I gave you a gift card to Target because I thought you needed help with groceries. I used it, I said. Bought some nice towels. Thank you. Douglas was pale. My firm. I offered you an administrative position at my firm. I'm a lawyer making $300K a year and I offered you. Oh God. It was kind of you to offer, I said. Amanda, my cousin's wife, was reading from her phone. Business Insider calls you the most underestimated entrepreneur of the decade. Fortune says you're rewriting the rules of sustainable luxury. The Wall Street Journal has a profile calling you the billionaire next door, because you're so normal in your personal life. I am normal, I said. Normal. Rebecca shrieked. You're worth $7 billion. You employ 40,000 people. You're on the UN Advisory Council for Sustainable Development. That's not normal. The wealth isn't normal, I agreed. But I am. Same person I was 6 years ago. Same person I was this afternoon when you were all explaining my failures to me. The doorbell rang, making everyone jump. My mother, moving like she was in a dream, went to answer it. She returned followed by a man and woman in professional attire, carrying expensive-looking camera equipment. Miss Chin, the woman said, smiling at me. I'm Sarah Winters from News Center. We spoke last week about getting some B-roll footage of you in a casual family setting for tonight's special. I hope this is still a good time. The room erupted. You planned this, my father said. The news crew knew, my mother added. I stood up. I told them I'd be with family for Christmas. They asked if they could film a few minutes of normal family interaction for the special. Humanize the story. Humanize, Marcus repeated, sounding dazed. Sarah was setting up her camera, completely professional. We'll just need about 5 minutes. Very casual. Just Emma with her family, showing that despite her incredible success, she values her roots and maintains close family connections. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. We can't, Rebecca said, panicking. We can't be on camera. Not now. Not after. After spending the last 3 hours telling me I was a failure? I suggested. Douglas had his lawyer face on, calculating. Emma, perhaps we should discuss. Miss Chin, Sarah interrupted, we're on a tight schedule. The special airs in 3 hours and we still need to edit. Could we get started? I looked around the room. My family stared back at me, shocked, horrified, calculating, ashamed. Actually, I said, I don't think this is the right setting after all. My family seems to be processing some unexpected news. Sarah glanced around, reading the room with a journalist's sharp eye. I understand. Should we reschedule? No need, I said. You have plenty of footage from the corporate campus, the factory tours, the executive interviews. This, I gestured at my frozen family, isn't necessary. If you're sure, Sarah said, already packing up, sensing a story she couldn't report. After the news crew left, the silence returned. But it was different now, heavy with recalculation, with the sound of worldviews crashing down, with the desperate mental scrambling of people trying to rewrite their own narratives. My mother spoke first, her voice artificially bright. Well, this is wonderful news. Emma, sweetheart, why don't we all sit down and you can tell us about your business? We'd love to hear all about it. Would you? I asked. Of course. We're your family. We've always supported you. I smiled sadly. 3 hours ago, you said I was embarrassing the family. I didn't mean, my mother started. You did mean it, I said gently. You all meant it. Every word. Rebecca had regained some composure. Emma, you have to understand how this looks from our perspective. You deliberately deceived us. I didn't deceive anyone, I corrected. You all assumed I was failing. I simply didn't correct your assumptions. That's deception by omission. Rebecca's voice was rising again. Is it? I asked. When you got your HOA presidency, did you tell me every detail of the campaign? When Marcus got his promotions, did he explain every career move? Or did you all just share what you wanted to share and I accepted it without interrogation? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. That's different. How? Because you're worth billions. That's relevant information. Relevant to what? I asked. To whether you respect me? Clearly yes. To whether you mock me at family gatherings? Apparently yes. To our actual relationship? That's the question, isn't it? My father tried a different approach. Emma, I think we all said things tonight that we regret. In the heat of the moment. We were concerned about you. You were ashamed of me, I interrupted, my voice still calm. There's a difference. Uncle Richard had poured himself another bourbon. Listen, Emma, we're all adults here. Let's move past this. You're successful. We're proud of you. Let's talk about the future. The future where I fund your retirement? I asked. Or Rebecca's next vacation. Or Marcus's kids' college tuition. We're family, my Aunt Linda said, tears still streaming. Family helps each other. You're right, I said. Family does help each other. When I was starting my business, did anyone offer to help? Not with money, with time, with interest, with basic respect. Silence. I ate Thanksgiving dinner every year at the far end of the table, I continued. I listened to lectures about my failures. I accepted pity and condescension and outright mockery. And I did it quietly because I wanted to know something. Know what? Jennifer asked softly. Who you all really were, I said. Whether any of you loved me for me or whether you only love success. My mother's face crumpled. That's not fair. Isn't it? Rebecca, you said I was embarrassing the family. Dad, you called my life's work playing games. Marcus, you staged an intervention. What part of that was love? Rebecca's hands were shaking. You could have told us. You could have trusted us. With what? My success. Why? So you could claim credit for supporting me? So you could ask for money? So you could brag to your friends? That's cruel, Rebecca whispered. Is it crueler than laughing at someone's dreams? I asked. Crueler than assuming someone is failing without ever asking? Crueler than offering pity instead of pride? Douglas cleared his throat. Emma, from a legal perspective. I have excellent lawyers, Douglas, I said. Among the best in the world. If you're about to offer your services, I'm not interested. His face reddened. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. A message from my executive assistant. The news special is starting, I said. If you want to watch it, you're welcome to stay. If not, I'm leaving after it's over. No one moved. I turned up the volume on the television. The news center special logo appeared, followed by dramatic music and sweeping shots of my corporate headquarters. For the next hour, my family sat in stunned silence as the program revealed the full scope of my empire. The factories that employed thousands. The sustainable practices that had won international awards. The charitable foundation I'd started that had donated over $1 billion to environmental and educational causes. The partnerships with governments and NGOs. The innovation labs developing new materials. The employee programs that offered full healthcare, education benefits, and profit sharing. They showed footage of me speaking at conferences, touring facilities, meeting with world leaders. They interviewed my executive team. Impressive people with Harvard and Oxford degrees who spoke about my vision and leadership with genuine respect. They covered my personal life delicately. The modest apartment, the lack of social media, the quiet lifestyle. Emma Chin, the reporter said, is perhaps the most private billionaire in the world. She drives a 5-year-old sedan. She shops at regular grocery stores. Her neighbors have no idea who she is. By all accounts, she's the same person she was before her extraordinary success. The special ended with footage of me at a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new hospital in Cambodia, funded entirely by my foundation. Children were laughing, running around. I was kneeling in the dirt talking to a little girl, no security detail visible, no cameras, just a genuine moment that someone had captured. Emma Chin, the reporter concluded, proves that extraordinary success doesn't require an extraordinary ego. In an age of influencers and self-promotion, she's built an empire in silence. And perhaps that's the most remarkable thing about her story. The credits rolled. The room remained silent for a long moment. Then my mother spoke, her voice broken. You built a hospital. 12 hospitals, I corrected quietly. So far. And you never told us, my father said. You never asked, I replied. In 6 years, not one of you ever asked me a single genuine question about my business. You all assumed, mocked, and moved on. Rebecca was crying now. I called your work playing pretend. You did. I'm so sorry. Are you sorry for what you said or sorry that you were wrong? I asked. She didn't answer. I stood up. I'm going to go now. Emma, wait, my mother said, standing. Please. We need to talk about this. As a family. A family. I looked around the room. Is that what this is? Because for 6 years I felt like an outsider at these gatherings. The disappointing daughter. The failed entrepreneur. The one you all pitied. We didn't understand, my Aunt Linda said. You didn't try to understand, I corrected. There's a difference. Marcus stood up. What do you want from us, Emma? Groveling. We messed up. We're sorry. What else can we say? Nothing, I said. There's nothing to say. You all revealed exactly who you are. Success matters to you more than character. Wealth matters more than kindness. Status matters more than substance. That's not true, my father protested. Then why, I said slowly, did not a single person in this room defend me tonight? Before the news special, when everyone was attacking me, mocking me, staging interventions, where was the unconditional love? Where was the "we support you regardless"? Where was the basic human respect? No one answered. I picked up my coat. I'm going to keep living my life exactly as I have been. Same apartment. Same routines. Same privacy. The only difference is that now you know. And you have to live with how you treated me when you thought I was nobody. You're not nobody, my mother said desperately. You're my daughter. Then act like it, I said. Not because I'm successful. Not because I'm on television. But because I'm a human being who deserved basic respect all along. I walked to the door. Emma, Rebecca called out. What happens now? With us. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. That's up to you. You can continue treating success as the only thing that matters. Or you can take a hard look at why you treated a family member so poorly for so long. Either way, it's your choice. Will we see you again? My mother asked, her voice small. I don't know, I said honestly. I need some time to think about whether I want to keep subjecting myself to judgment and mockery. Even billionaires have feelings, Mom. Maybe especially billionaires who remember what it felt like to be treated like a failure by the people who were supposed to love them most. I opened the door. The cold December air rushed in. Merry Christmas, I said. And then I left. Behind me, I heard my mother start to sob. I heard my father trying to comfort her. I heard Rebecca saying something about calling me tomorrow, about fixing this, about family. But I just walked to my car, my modest 5-year-old sedan that was paid for in cash but had never impressed anyone, and drove away. My phone started buzzing before I even reached the highway. Texts from family members. Calls coming through. I silenced it all. Instead, I called my executive assistant. "Hi, David," I said. "Did the news special air well?" "Perfectly," he said. "We're already seeing upticks in brand interest. The PR team is fielding interview requests from major outlets. It's exactly what we hoped for." "Good," I said. "And the Q1 expansion plans?" "Ready for your review Monday morning. The Tokyo facility is ahead of schedule. The Mumbai partnership agreements are finalized. We're projecting 18% growth." "Excellent work." I hung up and drove through the quiet streets. Christmas lights twinkled in windows. Families gathered in warm homes. Normal people living normal lives, probably not thinking about billion-dollar empires or family betrayals or the price of success. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. A text from Rebecca. "Please call me. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. I was horrible. Please let me apologize properly." Another from Marcus. "I was wrong about everything. Can we talk?" One from my mother. "I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive us." Even one from Uncle Richard. "You were right about the bourbon comment. I'm sorry." I put the phone away. They were sorry now. Now that they knew. Now that the numbers were real. Now that they'd seen me on television shaking hands with presidents and building hospitals and employing thousands. But would they have been sorry if I'd remained what they thought I was? A failed entrepreneur in a small apartment with a modest online shop? I already knew the answer. The city lights faded behind me as I drove toward my quiet apartment, my simple life, my private empire that had never needed their validation and certainly didn't need their belated respect. Tomorrow I would wake up and run a $7.2 billion company. I would make decisions affecting 40,000 employees across 4 continents. I would review charitable donations and expansion plans and sustainability initiatives. And I would do it all without the burden of family expectations, without the weight of their judgment, without the desperate need to prove anything to people who had already proven they valued success over substance. The road stretched out ahead of me, dark and quiet and full of possibility. And for the first time in 6 years I felt completely, perfectly free.